My name is Erica Estes. I'm from URI, from the College of Pharmacy. I am a clinical professor on faculty. I am chair of the admissions committee, and I'm the director of the Pharm.D program. And so each of these info sessions, we have different individuals with us. So I'm just going to quickly pass it over to those that are here with us today. Actually, we have Dr. LaCroix with us today. If you'd like to introduce yourself, I'll have you go first, and I'll have the students go.
Sure. My name is Dr. Matthew LaCroix. I'm the coordinator for accreditation and assessment for the College of Pharmacy. So my job is being able to prove that everybody can do what they're supposed to do. And as always, the cat joins every Zoom here. That's my main role, and I help a lot with admissions and data in the background.
Thank you. And I see that Assistant Dean Gorinsky joined us. Hi, Denise. You could just say hello.
Everybody. I'm Denise. I'm the Assistant Dean as well as the Academic Advisor in the College of Pharmacy. So I'll work with you for the first 2 years. So welcome. Go Rhode.
You all get to meet Assistant Dean Gorinsky at orientation.
Orientation.
Right.
I'll be at the welcome days. I do in-person info sessions. So yeah, if you need anything, all you have to do is email me.
Awesome, thank you. All right, and then on the next slide, we have two students that are joining us tonight. We have Nisha, who is a freshman currently at URI. And Nisha, actually, fun fact about Nisha was we were just chatting before this session started, and she is actually at home right now doing this and was in the same exact seat literally last year at this time, listening to this session as a senior. So Nisha, would you like to introduce yourself?
Yes, my name is Nisha Gakwani. I'm a freshman in the Pharm.D program at URI. I'm from New Jersey. I see a few New Jersey people in the chat, so hi. And I'm so excited to share a little bit about URI and the College of Pharmacy with you guys today.
Awesome, thank you. And then we have the other end of our pharmacy experience. We have Caitlin, who's actually a P4 student, so she's in her last year of the program. So we'll have Caitlin introduce herself.
Hi everyone, my name is Caitlin. As mentioned, I am a P4 student, so I'm in my last year. I'm even in my last semester of pharmacy school, so I'm very excited. So I'm doing my rotations right now. But I am from Illinois, so I did travel quite a bit for school. So if you have any questions about the adjustment for that, be happy to answer them.
And Caitlin, what did you just get back? Where were you?
So as I said, I'm doing my rotations, and one of the really unique programs that we have here at URI is that I was able to do 2 of my rotations internationally. So in the beginning of December, I just got back from spending 3 months in France. So I just finished 2 of my rotations in France, and it was incredible, and I had the best time ever. But it'll definitely come up a little bit later in the presentation when we talk about study abroad opportunities. But very
Caitlin, you sent us wonderful pictures of all your beautiful food you were eating.
It was basically a culinary tour of Europe.
Wow, being a pharmacy student.
Yes.
Don't forget
the pharmacy part.
We're going to hear a lot more. Caitlin has some awesome stories about all of her travels. So I think that's it for us. I don't think anyone from admissions joined us today. Other than that, if I'm missing anyone, let me know. So we're just going to go through the general info session for the Pharm.D program. I'm not sure if anyone on this particular call is interested in the BSPS program. I will have some information about the BSPS, but certainly the majority of this information is Pharm.D. We do have another info session that's dedicated for the BSPS program as well. And then we'll have an opportunity for questions. So throughout the session, as we're going through the information, you certainly can post things in the chat. The students are on that can answer those questions if it's anything relating to what we're talking about, or just things that you'd like us to mention. And students, if you guys can keep an eye on that, and if there's anything to throw in there, please just feel free to jump in. All right, so we're going to start with just a general overview. So as I mentioned, our College of Pharmacy, what we're really kind of focusing on tonight is our Doctor of Pharmacy program, which is a 6-year accredited degree program to ultimately become a licensed pharmacist. We do have the 4-year degree program as well, which is the Bachelor of Science in Pharmaceutical Sciences. We refer to that as the BSPS program. And then within our college is also housed the interprofessional neuroscience program. So one of the tracks or the pathways within that. And that also is a 4-year degree with a major in neuropharmacology. So that's just kind of an overview of what's offered within the actual college. So moving ahead on the next slide, we have various dual degree opportunities within the College of Pharmacy. And so thinking within the Pharm.D program, there's lots of things that you can do. A lot of the students, and we'll work with you individually on this, will come in with credits, for instance, coming in with AP credits or dual enrollment credits. So you may come in with 15 credits, for instance, and you're going to have an opportunity that you can do other things while you're at URI. So although you can't graduate sooner, you can't necessarily graduate faster because we are a 0-6 program. You have the opportunity to maybe do a major or a minor or something else. And Caitlin is an example of that with what she's been doing with her dual degree. We also have a lot of interest right now in our dual Pharm.D MBA program, and we've actually had a lot of students. We had several info sessions. We have some information on our website about that. And many are taking advantage of that opportunity. With as few as, in some cases, 8 courses, you can actually, within the 6 years, complete your MBA as well as your Pharm.D degree. We have 12 students right now that are currently enrolled in that program, and we have 60 students that have completed that program since 2010, again, within the 6-year time period. So that's something really that we're proud of and like to highlight as well. And the next slide. This is just a representation of who we are. So looking at the sort of variety of the students that have posted in the chat and where you're from, you might kind of think, what do our students look like and how are they represented? So in this Pharm.D class of 2027, our freshman class, we have 443 highly qualified students that applied for 130 seats. So we often refer to seats within our program. So we're a 0-6 program, remember, and what that means is that when you get admitted as a freshman, you will stay, and we'll talk a little bit more about the criteria, but you'll basically stay in that program for the 6 years. So our freshman class really is important to us in terms of what's represented. 70% of them right now are female, 35% students of color, 4.01 average high school GPA, and that's calculated in some different ways, as you all know, with how things are weighted. And you're probably wondering, the big elephant in the room, where are the standardized tests? Most of you realize, all of you realize that right now, and especially last year's class as well, URI is test optional. So not everyone will submit scores. And so that gets a little bit skewed because those that submit scores oftentimes might have better scores, and that's why they're submitting them. So you can't always get an accurate representation of what that number would look like. But the range that we have for this particular class is actually, just if you're wondering, for the SAT, 1030 to 1550 is our range of SAT scores, just to kind of see how you would fit within that range. And then the ACT score range is 29 to 33. So again, that hopefully puts in perspective a little bit of what our class is represented like for those that actually did submit their scores. And this is talking in the next slide about some of the admission and progression standards. And I might actually have Assistant Dean Grinsky talk a little bit about this, but just as I mentioned, these students are admitted directly to the Pharm.D track as freshmen, and that's what distinguishes us as a 0-6 program. We are only one of about 7 programs nationally within the 144, I'll say, Matt, correct me if I'm wrong. The number changed a little bit. Colleges of pharmacy that are out there now. So there's not a lot of colleges of pharmacy that are 0-6. And so we have these pre-professional requirements within the College of Pharmacy. Denise, do you want to just chat about those a little bit? They're on the screen here.
What happens is we look at by the end of your 3rd semester, which is your 1st semester of your sophomore year, I look at all your grades to make sure you've made a retention, which is a 2.7 just in your science and math courses, no grade less than a C-. And what happens if you go lower than that retention, you will get a letter from Dean Orr, who's the associate dean, telling you you've lost your seat, you got to talk to me. Now, some students are very close, and there's a good chance if you have a good semester, the following semester, that you'll get your seat back. If you have a really low GPA or your grades just aren't cutting the mustard, so to speak, I'll work with you to try to help you find another major. A lot of the students sometimes will go into the BS degree because they just, they realize they like research better or something, so their heart really isn't in the Pharm.D. So, don't feel bad if something like that happens. It's just, it just happens. You know, you come into our program and you're all very brilliant, and we know you're very brilliant, but college is different. It's a big transition. And sometimes you realize it's not really what you wanted. So if you don't have that passion, but we'll certainly help you, because once you get into that P1 year, it's even more difficult. So we like to help you make a transition to something else, because if you get into that P1 year and academically you're struggling, it just gets progressively harder. So by us saying maybe you need to go in a different path is our way of actually helping you to be successful in a different area.
And the positive thing is that as a college, our students are very much supported. And so the good thing, you know, in learning about the criteria certainly is that it's up to you in maintaining that seat. So if you are doing well and you are above those sort of hard stop criteria that are listed, you're going to keep progressing into the College of Pharmacy. There's a professional interview and a writing sort of portion of the interview, an essay sample that will occur during your sophomore year. And then that officially when you would begin your coursework as a P1 student in that fall. So the good thing when you think about a 0-6 program is that you are not competing against your peers, you know, for a seat. It's just ultimately up to you to kind of keep progressing and moving forward. And that's actually a really positive thing. It really helps with the culture of your environment. And that there's less competition in your classes. For instance, you're not sort of worried about your grades in terms, oh, that person might get in and I may not. Like that's not going to happen. It's your seat, it's yours to keep. And that's a positive thing.
And
as you move ahead into the professional program, the progression standards are a little bit different in that it's a 2.3 QPA maintained in those professional courses. And that again would be required to progress into your final year when you would do your advanced practice rotations, your API rotations, and that's where Caitlin is right now. So we'll talk a little bit about the curriculum on the next slide, and this is a bit of a moving target right now because our curriculum is changing. So for all of you, and Nisha, for instance, you are in this new curriculum that we're a part of. Caitlin is sort of a product of the existing curriculum as we're phasing that out, and so there's sort of some differences that have existed previously. So the first 2 years, you'll have what we were just talking about, those pre-professional and general education requirements, which is pretty standard, the coursework that you'll be taking in those first 2 years between the Pharm.D program and the BSPS program. Nisha, do you want to talk a little bit about some of the courses that you're taking, maybe to give them an example of what that's like for the freshman year?
Yeah, of course. So last semester I took chemistry, Chem 101, chemistry lab, communications, ethics, and applied calculus. And you would also normally take biology and biology lab. I was fortunate enough to have AP credit for biology as well as English. So I got out of writing and biology. And this semester I'm taking anatomy and physiology 1, anatomy and physiology lab, Chem 112, chemistry lab, microeconomics, and I'm actually taking intro to biostatistics, which is actually, I think you're supposed to take it sophomore spring semester, but I'm taking it a little early so I have the opportunity to study abroad if I want to.
And ahead, I like it. That's good. And then after so that's the freshman year that Nisha was talking about. Then you'll have different courses your sophomore year, including things like organic chemistry, as an example. And then after your sophomore year, then you'll move into the professional curriculum. So we start identifying students as a P1, a P2, a P3, and P4 student. So when Caitlin is a P4 student, she's in her last year of the program. So that would be 3 years of coursework, which is your P1, your P2, your P3 year. It also includes your experiential opportunities, which will begin in your P1 year. And you'll have your introductory pharmacy practice experiences, which are 300 hours. And that will occur from P1, P2, and P3. And then you move into your final year of the program, the P4 year, and that's where Caitlin is now, where you'll have 6 different rotations, your advanced practice rotations, and that will account for 1,440 hours of advanced pharmacy practice experiences. So by the time you graduate, you'll actually have 1,740 hours of experiential education. And that's further broken down in the different, without being too overwhelming, hospital, community, ambulatory care, and all these different environments that you'll have an opportunity to have different educational opportunities in those practice areas to sort of further develop which area of pharmacy you may be most interested in. So, so that's the curriculum sort of in a broad sense. And we like to sort of describe the newer curriculum and how we're doing it now, just to offer kind of a glimpse into what that looks like. So when you are learning conditions, and we use different examples, very common outpatient conditions, something maybe like high blood pressure as an example, you will learn that earlier in the curriculum, sort of creating that foundation of this spiral. And then as you move through, and that might happen in your P1 year, as you move through, you'll have the next level of the curriculum where it gets a little bit more complex. So maybe a cardiac condition like heart failure. So you'll begin to learn that. You'll start to sprinkle in also some of your introductory practice experiences for experiential education. And so you won't have just one unit of cardiology and that's it. And that's the difference of how the curriculum used to be, where you'd have one module, say, at a particular time, and then you would just go to the next one. Well, now you might keep reintroducing it so that foundation keeps getting built and layered on and spiraled up. So then the next level would be more of these acute complex illnesses. So maybe a myocardial infarction or a heart attack. And that would be maybe the last part of the kind of the sequence, but then you would be ready at that point to go out into your advanced practice rotations, which again are going to be more clinical. So you will start with the community, the outpatient types of experiential education. You'll move into the hospital next, and then you'll move into that more clinical rounding type of experiences. So each semester will build on the previous, which really kind of further solidifies the knowledge and how it's presented as the coursework. So we like to think that we're preparing students in some ways for roles that may not yet exist. And that's the really important part of the curriculum, is identifying the fact that we have very good pass rates on our NAPLEX exams, and we do well on that. So that's not the reason that we're necessarily changing it. It's just to be consistently relevant in healthcare, and healthcare changes, and we want to make sure that our students are prepared for any role that they embark into upon graduation. So that's kind of how the curriculum is described. And now I just kind of want to take a moment to think about, like, well, how is that all delivered? And so you are all products of this. We're sort of experiencing this COVID world we're in right now. And I'm really proud of the fact that at URI, in our classes, we've really endured throughout. We've always been in person, and even last year, when a lot of places were hybrid and remote, we had our students in person, and we worked it out so that we could be that way. So we really embraced a lot of the technology. You can see in this example in my course that I teach, this is my geriatric elective course. And in this particular course, I was able to bring in speakers from all over the country, using Zoom, using different types of technology that we probably never would have really embraced before. But now, we had to do it, and now we're actually really excited about it and using it to the full advantage, which is pretty great. Additionally, on the next slide, we have some opportunities for academic and social support. And this is really where Denise, Assistant Dean Grinsky, will come in. Denise, are you able to chat a little bit about, I would love for you to talk about some of the freshman programming maybe, and the LLCs and things like that we would really kind of like the students to know about.
Okay, we have a dorm. This year we live in Hillside. No, where do we live this year? Weldon. We live in Weldon. Where we're going to live next year, I have no idea. And each dorm that we live in, we have a RAM, which is the academic mentor, resident academic mentor, who lives with all the freshmen. And they usually run programming for me. Like right now we have Sonica. Sonica is actually from Dubai, and she's been a very good mentor. I've had her for 3 years. She does anatomy labs down in the dorm. She does chemistry tutoring. She runs programs for final exams. This semester we'll have what we call piece of cake. So we'll do all the academic advising, and the university buys us a big cake. So we eat cake while we do advising. We have an ice cream social that we do. So we try to do a lot of things. She engages you quite a bit, and she's very good at it. And I don't know, Nisha will be able to talk a little bit too about what living in the dorm is actually like, because I don't live there. I know, I try to engage with the students as much as I can, but I don't live there. So Nisha, do you have anything to add about living in an LLC with your peers?
Yeah, so I love living in the living and learning community. It's really cool to have like basically everyone on my floor is either like Pharm.D or BSPS, and it's just so cool to be able to like walk next door and be like, hey, like, have you like guys done this chapter in anatomy or chemistry yet? Like, do you mind helping me out with a few problems? Can we work on it together? It's just like a great collaboration. You can study together. It's really easy to form like friend groups of the same major, and it's having like study sessions for exams and finals. And it's just a really collaborative environment. And I love the events that Sonica is able to host for us. The ice cream social is a really great opportunity to meet your classmates and peers that you're going to be with for the next 6 years. And it's just great having so many people of the same major right next door.
I think the LLCs certainly are something that set URI apart. My son is actually a senior this year in high school and applied to URI and was admitted. And I know they've just been starting to hear, I think yesterday, and a couple of days about the honors program. So I don't know if Nisha or Caitlin, if you have anything to add on that, but I know that's one example too within the LLCs of students, you know, like majors. And for instance, pharmacy has an LLC, and then within honors they have an LLC. But having students have that opportunity to live together, get to know one another, have some classes together, it really kind of creates that unique friendships that you're going to early on. And I'll pick on Nisha for a second, because I love the fact that as soon as you came on or came to URI, you started sort of hanging out with some of these students. And I always see you guys in this little pod like together, you know, and it's really nice. I teach a section in that. Denise teaches several sections. And it's so great when you meet these students as freshmen and they go on to stay friends and live together down the line off campus. They are in each other's weddings and they are godparents for each other's kids. And it's just this really kind of awesome relationship that starts really freshman year. So that's really kind of great. Do you guys have any insight on the honors program? I don't know if any of you, either of you, Caitlin or Nisha. We always get questions on it, so I just wanted to see if anyone had anything. I can tell you that students in the honors program oftentimes aren't sure what to do, if they should pursue it. And one of the really benefits and the advantage for some of the courses is that they aren't necessarily harder, but they're more, allow you to have like a deeper dive into some of the content, more discussion-based courses, oftentimes less exams actually, just a different style of teaching. Students get to register sooner, that's always a perk. And there's a project at the end, which allows you to connect with a faculty member on some level. Like I know Sonica is doing her honors project, and she oftentimes will talk about that on some of these sessions too. So it is a great way to enhance your learning, and certainly within the pharmacy program, a lot of the courses that you take, Denise, you could probably speak to this. They don't really double dip in them, but they can count for some honors courses, but also count for some of their requirements.
Yeah, what happens when you take honors, I'll work, there's a few courses that you can take, like students that are in the honors program, there's certain requirements. You have to take a 100 level course, a 200 level course, a 300 level course. You got to be part of the colloquium, and then you do a research project with somebody. A lot of students in pharmacy will wait until their P3 year, and some of them will even do it during the P4 year with the faculty member that maybe they're even on rotations with. So they kind of double dip their rotations with their research, which is fine. We don't have any problem. But like most students will take COM 100, that counts as your requirement into pharmacy, as well as your honors 100 course. You might take biochemistry, CMB 311 honors, which will be a 300 level and one of your requirements. So I'll work with you in the honors advisors will work to make sure that you get, you know, it's beneficial for you without taking all these things that you really don't know or aren't going to count as your general education requirements and stuff. So you don't have to worry. It's all very nicely in place to make you be successful at it, to enjoy it. And if you want to do it, I have to be honest with you, a lot of students don't follow through. That senior project kind of blows them. They get nervous about it, but students that do it seem to enjoy it very much. Our last RAM, Emily Murray, did it. She did Native American plants with Dean Lozier, who's one of our retired associate dean. She was a faculty emeriti and worked with Emily on a project. So we have a lot of great faculty. If you pick a project to work with them, you won't have any problem.
And you know, you don't have to decide right away too. There's a lot of students that will kind of opt into it a little bit later. And I'm mentioning it because I think pretty much all of our students practically qualify for the honors program. So we get a lot of questions about it, and so students are oftentimes aren't sure what
Yeah,
to do.
and
So
there's a big freshman orientation this year, God willing, is gonna be in person. And what they do is they have a whole area, like they say, if you want interest in the honors program, you go to the quad tomorrow at 4 o'clock, and that's where you'll learn about the honors program. And the Liam, I don't remember his last name. Who remembers Liam's last name? He's a economics professor, and he's a director of honors, and he is just such a cool guy. And he does this, you know, teaches you all about all the different requirements and stuff. So you'll learn more about it at freshman orientation. You don't have to worry now.
good. So we've got a couple of fun slides ahead just to show you some more of the social aspects of being at URI. And so this year we were so excited to have our freshman picnic. We've been chatting about a little bit in person. Last year, COVID, everything was a little bit different, as you all know. So it was really great to have our students outside on the quad doing things like that when they came back right in September. We have something at URI in the pharmacy program called Wellness Wednesdays. They aren't necessarily always on Wednesdays. We really have been trying to make an effort all last semester and last year as well to do these wellness events, recognizing that students are oftentimes stressed and really kind of focusing on, you know, mental health and just wellness in general. So this particular picture is from our garden, our medicinal garden right outside of Avedisian Hall, our building. And we had yoga that particular afternoon that was led by one of our faculty members, Dr. Ginger LeMay. And we're building our calendar right now for this semester. I just had a meeting with the students tonight, and we have everything from pet therapy to yoga, meditation. Nisha came last semester to several of our events. Nisha's actually a yoga instructor herself, so we're trying to get her maybe to lead something for us this semester. So we really encourage students who may have talents or, you know, artistic abilities, different things to lead different events, and it really creates this really nice community within our own pharmacy community. In addition to that, so the next slide, we have some other things outside of the classroom. So just as much as learning occurs obviously within the walls of our college and our university, the really kind of, I think, unique aspect of URI in the pharmacy program is our ability to be immersed in the community. So I'm fortunate in that I live literally a few minutes away from campus. So my kids, I have a 17-year-old and a 21-year-old. My kids went to school, to elementary school in the school system right here in South Kingstown. And so one of the great things about our pharmacy program, and many of our faculty also live locally, we've found ways to involve our students in the community. And so when you come here, come to URI, you're not just part of the pharmacy program, you're part of South Kingstown, you're part of, you know, Rhode Island. And so students will oftentimes do different types of community events. So one example here on the top is when the students went to Peacedale Elementary School in the spring. We do this every year, and we teach about poison prevention. And this happens to be a first grade class, and we go to all the first grade classes. And we've been doing that since my son was in first grade, and he's now 21. So we've been doing it for a long time. Caitlin, with dark-haired version of Caitlin, is actually in this picture. And this is one of the things she got to do with us when she was in LKS. And then on the bottom, I have students who, this particular student was at the senior center. So the opposite end of the extreme, you know, we have events for children in schools, and then we also go and work with our seniors. And this was helping seniors enroll with Medicare Part D. This was our event in the fall. We did the Alzheimer's Walk in Newport. This was a group of students from my student organization that did that. We have at the top students at the State House lobbying for advocacy in pharmacy, and we try and do that every year as well. And then we have other events. This particular group is the pharmacognosy group, really kind of immersed in plants, learning about plants and doing fun things with plants. So really anything, learners and leaders. And what does Caitlin like to say? There's a group for everyone. What is your comment? So maybe Caitlin and Nisha, any groups in particular that you guys would like to highlight, or other opportunities for students to get involved in? I know, Caitlin, you've done things from sororities and everything else. So maybe we'll start with you.
Sure. So I was and still am very involved, not only in the College of Pharmacy, but also in the community at URI as a whole. I really wanted that whole school experience. I wanted to be able to join a sorority, which I did. So I did a social sorority, and then I also did the pharmacy sorority, LKS. So I did both sororities, and I really gained very different experiences from each one of them. and thoroughly enjoyed them. I also was part of the Rhode the Ram mascot program. So that was something I got involved in my freshman and sophomore year, where I was Rhode the Ram's handler, and once upon a time I was Rhode the Ram.
Caitlin, have you been holding back? I never knew that about you.
I'm getting nostalgic now that my
Wow.
time is coming to an end. And
I don't think you've ever shared that story with us.
I was once upon a time Rhode the Ram because the guy who was supposed to be Rhode the Ram canceled. He got sick, so I got to meet the governor of Rhode Island dressed as Rhode the Ram.
Wow.
I almost passed out. It wasn't a great experience. But I did, so I was very active not only in the College of Pharmacy, but very much outside of the College of Pharmacy, because that was very important to me. Within the College of Pharmacy, I have held various leadership positions. I've been involved with tour guiding for 4 years now. This is going on my 4th year. I was head tour guide for 2 years. I'm very involved in a lot of other organizations. I am more interested in the pediatrics side, hence the poison control with the first graders. So something right in my wheelhouse. So I'm involved in the pediatrics group here on campus, involved in, I want to do more of hospital-based pharmacy. So I'm involved in that group. And like Dr. Essa said, my favorite way to describe involvement at URI is that there's something out there for everyone, regardless of whether you're interested in hospital pharmacy, community pharmacy, whether you speak Spanish and you want to be involved in pharmacy in Spanish. We have a veterinary pharmacy organization. Like I said, we have the pediatric pharmacy organization. We just have so many different organizations that are available for all of our students here. And not only is it a great way to kind of explore and see what areas of pharmacy you're interested in, like hospital, community, industry, but it's also a great way to meet other students and not just your grade, but upperclassmen as well. That's how I got to know a lot of my friends who are in the grades above me is through these organizations. So I was very involved. And most pharmacy students, we recommend that they pick at least 1 or 2 organizations just within the College of Pharmacy so that they can kind of get out there and meet people and learn about pharmacy as a career path.
How about you, Nisha, as a freshman? I know you've been getting involved in lots of things.
Yeah, I definitely agree with Caitlin. There really is something for everyone within the College of Pharmacy and the university as a whole. I know that within the College of Pharmacy, I was able to join Lambda Kappa Sigma, the pharmacy professional sorority, and my roommate joined Kappa Psi, the professional pharmacy fraternity. So it was cool just to like how we like join different groups, but we're still like have so many friends in common and kind of introduce each other to like upperclassmen from each different organization, which I thought was really cool. And then outside the College of Pharmacy, I'm involved in the newspaper, The Good 5 Cent Cigar. I have a passion for journalism, and people often find it a little weird. They're like, "Oh, aren't you a pharmacy major? Like, why are you here?" And I'm like, I like writing too, and it's just so cool to have the opportunity to like do other stuff at the university. And so I love writing articles for the newspaper. And I recently got involved in tour guiding. I'm training this semester, and I should be giving tours by the fall. And yeah, so I'm just kind of just pursuing anything that really catches my eye. I think I'm going to start teaching yoga at the fitness center this semester. I'm a certified yoga instructor, and I did some classes in the lounge for just like friends and people in my dorm building last semester, like finals week and stuff. So it's just really cool to be able to pursue like all your passions at like, yeah, it's really cool to be able to do different things.
I love it. And I love last year when Nisha was, like I said, she was a senior and we were chatting and she came to tour with her family and was so excited about the possibility of using journalism. And we talked about the Good 5 Cent Cigar, and here she is now writing articles about all different things and even articles about some of our pharmacy faculty, which has been pretty neat. She's been able to do all that stuff. So I love it. So the next slide is actually one very special to Caitlin, which is our study abroad slide. So I'm going to try not to have her talk for 35 minutes about her study abroad experiences, but you can see from this variety of photos that our students have really had opportunities to go a lot of places. And this is such an exciting thing to talk about now, because I can hopefully say this, that for all of you on this call, by the time you're ready to go to study abroad, we hopefully will be in a different place, in much different place. Even Nisha is able to think about that for next year and what that could look like. We actually do have 3 students this semester who are studying abroad in the pharmacy program. we tend to have upwards of about 30 students a year studying abroad. So we have a lot of students take advantage of this opportunity. And like I mentioned, if you come in with credits and you know that you're not going to graduate sooner, you certainly can, like Nisha's doing, take some courses, be thoughtful about it, work with Dean Grinsky about how to map your schedule out so that you will have that semester to be able to do that. And you can do that as a BSPS student, as a Pharm.D student. You can do that typically your second semester, sophomore year. And if some students don't have the ability to do that with their courses, they can do it during the J term, which is that several week term in January or potentially in the summer. But at URI, as part of the 06 program, that's one of the unique opportunities is that you can be carved out because you're staying at the same place and it's able to be worked into your schedule to do that. So we've had students in these variety of photos you can see in all different places. We've had orphanages. This is an HIV orphanage in Jamaica, clearly at the Leaning Tower of Pisa in Italy, in France at the Cannes, right? Caitlin always corrects me when I say that, film festival.
It's Cannes.
Cannes. See, I was saying Cannes initially, so at least I'm closer. There's the red carpet, whatever it is. It's perfect. Scuba diving in the Great Barrier Reef in Australia. And then I have to move my little Zoom square here. This was actually a pharmacy. This was more of a medical mission trip at the upper corner in that photo is from students that were in Vietnam. And then we have our famous Caitlin here doing her semester at sea. And I have to have her talk about this because only she will do it justice. This was one of her first forays going international. She's had several since, but this is the one that she likes to really highlight.
I do. So I had just mentioned that I just got back from France and doing 2 of my rotations there. And then you said experiences. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I have had more than one experience in pharmacy being overseas. And I grew up traveling. It was a real big thing that my parents really emphasized, is that we were always traveling, always going new places. So having the opportunity to study abroad while doing pharmacy school was just such a really cool thing to me, just a really cool idea. And a lot of the schools I looked at, they really just kind of brushed it off. They were like, you can study abroad, but it's going to add time to your schedule. They were going to make it so that I had to add at least an extra year to an extra 2 years if I wanted to study abroad. And I was like, no, I can do it. I'll be fine. I'll fit it in. And Denise was my favorite, and she supports all of our students who go abroad, and she's such a big supporter of us. And she helped fit all of my classes into a year and a half. So my freshman year and then the fall semester of my sophomore year. I did have to take organic chemistry during the summer. Makes for a long summer, very difficult summer, but it was well worth it. And then in my spring semester of my sophomore year, I was able to study abroad, and I did a program called Semester at Sea. And a lot of our pharmacy students, they pick one country like Italy, France, England, Ireland, and then they just do that one program, but they'll travel from there. I did something a little unconventional, and I did Semester at Sea, which is where you go on a boat and you sail around the world for 3.5 months. And I visited 12 different countries during that time. And then I spent 2 weeks afterwards traveling around Europe. So if you are familiar with the show, The Sweet Life on Deck, a spinoff from The Sweet Life of Zach and Cody, that is what I did. I lived on a cruise ship. I took classes on the cruise ship. And then anytime we were in port, I was able to travel around whichever country I was in. It was one of the best experiences of my life. I still talk about it. It's been 5 years. I actually got a Facebook notification today that it's been 5 years since I was in Japan, and I cried a little. So being the 5th year anniversary, a lot of my friends are, we're all reconnecting and talking about where we are in life. I'm still in the same spot. I'm still in school. Hasn't changed. But it was such a unique experience, and it's really one of the things that even drew me to URI in the first place, was that they were so supportive of just everything I wanted to do, and anything I wanted to add to my college experience was just met with so much support. Every time I'd walk into Denise's office and be like, Denise, I'm going to do this. She's like, okay. And she would help me with whatever I wanted to do. And so just a great opportunity. The other study abroad opportunity that I had that I did mention was that I did 2 of my rotations in France. And I just got back from that, and I can't stop talking about that either because it was so much fun. The first rotation I had was at a hospital, and it was a teaching hospital associated with the College of Pharmacy and the College of Medicine right next door. I could see the College of Pharmacy from like where I was working. And I had the unique opportunity to shadow each department in that hospital within the pharmacy for an entire month. So I got to see all sorts of different aspects of pharmacy that they have that we don't have here, as well as compare what pharmacy is like there versus what pharmacy is like here. So that was such a unique opportunity. And then I ended up spending 2 weeks in their oncology department, mainly because the medications and the diseases all sound the same. Whether it's in French or it's in English, you can kind of figure it out. So that was the easiest one. But it was all in French. I can count on one hand the amount of times I spoke English. So it was definitely a very challenging experience, but definitely very cool. And then my second opportunity over there was working at a clinical trial company. So being a liaison between pharmaceutical companies that are looking to do phase 1 trials, which is your first in human. So it's where you're looking into side effect profiles, you're looking into your minimum dose and your maximum dose. So I had the unique opportunity to be part of those, not only setting them up at the facility, but also administering the medications and doing that. So it was such a unique opportunity and just so much fun. And I really, really do appreciate all the support that the College of Pharmacy has given me, because I don't think I would have been able to do all these without them. So any questions about study abroad, happy to answer them. I did see one in the chat that says like studying abroad in Ireland. And there was actually a girl the year above me who did study abroad in Ireland. That was where she did hers. And so she spent her spring semester in Ireland and she loved it.
We have people that go everywhere. We have people that go everywhere. Caitlin did the study. She went to a lot of places because she did the study at sea, but we've had kids go to Tel Aviv, Spain, England, Ireland, Scotland, Africa. I mean, you name it, they've been, and you work with the study abroad office. So it's not that hard of a process. It's like Caitlin says, there's just a lot of planning, but it's doable.
I think the majority, it seems like a lot of the students, it seems like Barcelona and Florence seem to be two of the, I don't say more popular ones, but certainly seems like a lot of students do opt for those.
Yeah, that Florence one is
a lot of them. And it's tough. You have to take wine and cheese classes. You have to do all these terrible classes when you're over there.
Mafia and how to make wine and the history of Italian soccer. Very taxing courses, kids.
Very hard. So
I at least took a pharmacy class when I did semester at sea. Not somewhat related, but it was about traditional medicines in each of the countries we went to. It was super enlightening because we went to a lot of countries in Asia, such as like China, where they have, Chinese traditional medicine is like a huge part of their culture. So it's really cool to see that aspect, especially once you got into like Africa, looking at their traditional medicine, just a really unique opportunity.
That's cool. So Nisha, were you thinking of studying abroad? You're thinking about it. What's your semester at sea, maybe?
Maybe. I'm kind of getting more tempted. And
she's selling it pretty hard.
She really is. I don't know if I could choose, but if I had to, it would be New Zealand.
Nice. Good. Well, we'll have to add your picture onto our collage when you return. So hopefully you'll get to go. So the next slide, before we get into some of the final sort of stats type of things, is something I just find really right now so important with everything going on in the world with the pandemic, and the fact of how our college, within our community, within our state, has certainly been front and center with the vaccination efforts. So one of the things as a pharmacy student, you'll get certified to administer vaccines during your P1 year. And depending on what state you happen to live in and work in, you may or may not be able to vaccinate, but in Rhode Island, you can under a pharmacist. So many of our students work in pharmacies currently, and that's something I also want to add, that even students who live out of state, many of them can get jobs here in Rhode Island while they're here. And depending on where they work, where they live, they can sometimes transfer back. For instance, if it's like a community pharmacy, like a chain like CVS. Caitlin, however, works in like 15 jobs. And so she works locally in a community pharmacy. She works in a hospital. So here she is in two of these photos. One, she just happened to be on the cover of the paper. I think it was one of the very first days when we started vaccinating in Rhode Island. I believe it was last December when actually we were able to get vaccinated. And then, I've been involved on a local level in the town where I live in South Kingstown in the pods. We were vaccinating all during the pandemic, especially when they were rolling it out to the older adults every Sunday, working there, volunteering. And it was just an amazing opportunity to be part of the vaccination efforts, and really beginning to move all of this forward within the community. So many of our students have done this at their jobs on a volunteer level. Many of our faculty have dedicated countless number of hours to this. Dr. LaCroix, who's on this call, was running one of the sites down here within the state, and really on the state level was really instrumental in moving many of these efforts forward. So I'm really thankful for all of our faculty, our staff, and our students who really helped in any way they could. We even had faculty or staff making hand sanitizer in the building last year during the pandemic. So it was really all hands on deck and pretty amazing. This one photo in here is really special to me because it's my dad, and was being vaccinated by one of our pharmacy students actually at a CVS on the very first day when the 75 plus population was able to be vaccinated, and he was able to get his vaccine by one of the pharmacy students, which was pretty awesome to be able to to be part of that. So so it was pretty great. So I do want to move forward into sort of the final part, and I know Dr. LaCroix has been waiting patiently and he loves numbers. He's an assessment guy, so he loves this stuff. So I'm going to kind of toss some of this to him, but I want to introduce what the really things that we're really proud of. This is really kind of the why of URI College of Pharmacy. And you've certainly heard it from the students, you've heard it from all of us, but the things that we're really proud of in terms of our marks of excellence really kind of show at the end, of why it matters. And so passing the NAPLEX exam, that's the licensure exam that you'll take ultimately to become a pharmacist at the end. We have exemplary results. We have nationally, always do very well within the region, within the country, and we'll show you more of those numbers. If there are any parents on the call, there may be, or students, you always like to tell your parents this, you certainly don't want to be living in your basement for the rest of your life. So you want to know that upon graduation, you're going to get a job. And that hopefully is somewhat of more of a guaranteed thing than maybe some of your friends who may not be majoring in pharmacy, or something that's a little more unknown in terms of what they'll do. So from our class of 2020, which again, some of these numbers are a little bit older because we have to wait till the newer numbers cycle through, but 97% employment rate at graduation. Also, this particular class would choose URI again, 97%. And that's a result from the AACP standards, or the organization that we have. And then we'll show you more about this in the upcoming slides. And we have some of these numbers a little bit more updated too in the more details that we have. Our students will rank in the top 5% in the country for something called residency placement. So pharmacy postgraduate training placements, or PGY1. And if you've done any research with the profession, you may have seen that term. But we rank nationally in the top 5%. And then also in the top 5% in the nation for federal research funding to pharmacy programs. So the next slides will really kind of dig a little bit deeper into some of these statistics. Dr. LaCroix, are you on? I know you love this one, so I'm going to have you give a little talk about our NAPLEX success rates. Perfect.
So for NAPLEX, this one is first time attempts, and really what's important here is we look at they used to give us data in a really tiny window. So these are people who took it during the summer immediately after graduation. And we had that 95.5% people take it, which meant we basically had 4 people go, which is not a big number considering we graduated about 130 kids a year. So that's a really exciting thing for us. And then MPJE is the law exam. Once again, that first taker, we had in that 94% range, which means those who took the test in Rhode Island did very, very well. And even overall, if they took the test not in Rhode Island, we still had an 85%. We spent about 4 years teaching you guys how to pass NAPLEX. We spend, in our new curriculum, we actually have 5 of the 6 semesters have a law element. So we're hoping to see all those numbers even continue to increase based on our new curriculum that we're delivering for you guys. So we're really excited about that. So this was the snapshot for the class of 2020. The class of 2021 numbers should be coming out within the next 2 to 3 weeks. So we're excited to get that information and be able to share it with people.
Thank you.
So next slide.
Yeah, and the next slide is actually Dr. LaCroix put the slide together, but so I'm gonna give him a shout out on that. But I think this is a really interesting way to look at the profession and look at some of the opportunities or the career paths that students will go. And I mentioned earlier that we're oftentimes training students for roles that may not yet exist. And not to date myself and when I graduated from pharmacy school, but certainly this colorful graphic looked a heck of a lot different when I graduated, in that most of the students were graduating going from pretty much chain community pharmacy and hospital. And so now you're seeing all these different other sort of segments of this. And we're really experiencing this firsthand, seeing the differences in how some of these roles are really evolving and how students are opting to go into these different career paths. So it really isn't cut and dry about what you're going to do when you graduate. Sure, you may be a community pharmacist, you might be a hospital pharmacist, and you may be something in between. And you may do something for a few years and then do something else. Speaking from my personal experience, that was me. I've worked in community, I've worked in long-term care, and now I'm in academia. So it's certainly not what you think you're going to do will be your be all end all of what you're going to pursue. And that's pretty incredible. I see a question. Would you say your program prepares you better for retail or hospital? I mean, honestly, I don't know that I would say it prepares you better for one or the other. I would say you're equally prepared for anything that you pursue. It's interesting though, and Caitlin actually as a student works in both places, hospital and community. So she's a good person to kind of reflect on this, but a lot of your knowledge is going to be the foundation, and you're really going to apply it in whatever role you happen to be in. We have students that are doing some pretty high tech, for instance, IT types of roles in, building software and databases and things they may not have even really learned in pharmacy school, but it's the knowledge and the experience that they have in the program that's going to allow them to excel in all of those areas. So I know, Caitlin, real quick, as a student perspective, you are a good one to sort of pick your brain about this because you do have different jobs. And how do you kind of find that the curriculum has prepared you for that?
Yeah, of course. I feel like I was prepared very well. I actually started both of my jobs within a month of each other. I'd applied to the hospital and hadn't heard back. And so a job came up to work at a community pharmacy. So I applied for it, got the job, and then heard back from the hospital that I'd gotten the job. So I started both of them rather quickly, one right after another. And I have to say that I feel completely prepared for both of them. They're very different jobs. Very few times do they have a lot of overlap, especially because it's very different medications, very different disease states. But 100%, I very much feel prepared. Right now, my rotation is at a hospital. And so I'm working with like the Gen Med team. So working with all of the inpatients. I have a list of about 20 patients that I cover. And so I'm using my skills, not only from community, but also from hospital in different areas during my time there. And it's amazing how much I've learned when I'm put in a situation where I'm asked to recall it or where I'm looking at a patient profile. And I'm like, oh, wait a second, let's look into this a little bit more. So very much prepared.
Awesome. And this statistic, I think on the other side, we had the previous class, and this is the updated number for the class of 2021, where we have a 90% on-time graduation rate. And then again, a 98% employment rate upon graduation. So also two very, very equally impressive numbers that we're very proud of from URI. The next slide talks about overall satisfaction from the class of 2021. And this is from a survey from AACP that students are asked. And the question was, indicates percentage of graduating pharmacy students that were in agreement with the statement of I am prepared to enter pharmacy practice. And so you can see from URI compared to the national number in the blue, very positive results. I mean, also very high nationally, but even higher from URI, and the same thing. And I really like this question. If I were starting my pharmacy program over again, I would choose the same college. And I think the fact that so many students, agree with that statement as compared to what you would see from a national average also is very telling to the perception that our students have about their experience at URI. And then wrapping up our sort of statistics, we have, I mentioned earlier the residency programs, and I won't get too into the weeds with all of that now because that's a whole other conversation. But there's something called a match that happens within the world of pharmacy, similar to medicine. And it happens in the spring where students their final year will apply for these residency programs to the PGY1, for instance, the postgraduate year one, to further their training. And so these are paid positions, but think of them as more like continuing their training and their education in sort of broad fields initially, but maybe more specialties for their second year. So within our cohort for 2021, it was 118 students. We had 44 students PGY1 matches from the class of 2021. So 79% of those that actually entered into the match successfully did match. And then for the PGY2, which is the second year for students that go on, this is again the year after that, we had 31 students opt into that program or tried to do that program, and 94% of them successfully. So that's really impressive for URI nationally. Like I said, we're in the top 5% in the country with our success rates. We also had several students pursuing fellowships, which is also really positive. And then finally, again, if there are parents on the call, this is probably when everyone sort of like wakes up, and this is oftentimes when people will like all of a sudden start zooming in, because college is expensive. I mean, I've got 2 students now, or children, I should say, not students, at home, and I fully understand what all of you are going through and how these conversations are so incredibly important with how much college costs, particularly with a 6-year program. And so if, depending on where you're from, I know we had some students, Colorado and other areas, but this does represent right now, specifically the New England area, which many of you are from. And so thinking about that, if we're just looking at the New England schools and looking at the cost, and these are numbers that you can get on this website, and so they're all reported numbers, URI is just an incredible value, particularly for in-state students, but equally even for out-of-state students when you compare that to the other schools in the area. And then when you look at it in terms of the NAPLEX pass rate, again, the rank of all of the schools in this area, 93.75% is the second highest in all of this area, and second only to one other school. So when you look at the value, when you look at the cost, when you look at what kind of experience you're going to get for coming to URI, it's really difficult to separate that out and not see it in kind of the big picture of how impressive all of these numbers are together. And so that's one thing. I know it isn't just about numbers, it's just about cost, but it's certainly in most people's worlds a huge consideration. So that's one thing that I definitely would encourage you to take advantage of. And that factors in even the professional fees and things that are part of our program, that are part of many pharmacy programs in that cost number. Matt, is there anything else you want to add about that stuff? I know you're the numbers guy, so you tell me.
No, you got this one good.
All right, good. So, so with that, as we're wrapping up on the hour here, we covered a lot of information. I know there have been some questions in the chat. Thank you for those, for Dr. LaCroix for fielding a lot of those questions while I was talking. Does anyone want to unmute themselves, ask a question, type another question in? We can certainly do that. I want to just
We did
go to
miss
that.
one. We
Oh,
did
did we?
miss one
Okay.
question, and I just wanted to address it in the larger setting, which is what rank is URI pharmacy school in New England? So it's a really interesting question because there's a lot of different rankings for pharmacy. If you're referring to US World News and Report, which is one of the more common rankings, one of the things that they don't always love is our 06 program, because we don't make you guys take the standardized tests. You guys do have to go through a little transfer application process and do an interview and be successful in it. But we don't make you take the PCAT. We don't make you do some of those things. And they base a lot of their statistics on those standardized testing that's done within the program. So if you want to look at our successes as far as our research ranking, we're number 2 in research ranking in the Northeast. If you want to talk about our affordability, once again, we're number 1 or number 2, depending on in-state, out-of-state, and all those things. As far as our residency match, we're number 1. So it's really depending on what you're looking for. Our ranking can vary in a lot of different ways. There's no good overall ranking for pharmacy schools, however, because our program is unique to take you guys directly out of high school.
Ian, would you advance that next slide only because there's some of the social media things on there? I just want to have that perfect. So just please make sure for all of you, I know a lot of you are seniors, and assuming that many of you are admitted seniors at that you've already gotten your acceptances, which is congratulations. And some of you may still be waiting as there are some rolling decisions still going out. So please make sure to connect with us. We have a Facebook group that's dedicated just to our admitted pharmacy students. So if you're younger, stay tuned, your time will come. But for if you are an admitted senior, please refer to your admission decision in the portal in eCampus, and the link is right in there that you can click on it and request to join the private group. It's a private group just for admitted students because we want to be able to communicate with you in that way. And if there is a group also for parents, which is separate. So parents, you can certainly find that group as well. But on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, please follow us, check us out. We're going to have lots of events in the spring in person. So we'd love to meet you all on campus for our welcome days. So please make sure to sign up for that. And we'll have other types of events that you can come. And if you're interested in coming for an individualized tour, I know that the admissions office is arranging those types. There's like a RAM event, which they will be hosting in person, where you can come and actually come to the URI, meet some of the pharmacy faculty, attend a class. They have kind of an organized event that they're setting that up, and that's also involved in, available in your admission information, your acceptance information. So please take advantage of all the opportunities, and we'd love to meet you in our building in person. Reach out and let us know if you're coming to visit. So Denise is oftentimes one of your very first people of contact in the college, so we can set up some tours individually.
We do a lot of one-on-one stuff. If you want to come, what I suggest you do is come to one of the welcome days, one of the group sessions. And then if you have questions after one of those welcome days or info sessions, then we can certainly arrange a one-on-one. But there's a lot of students that do welcome day with us, and so they live the program. They're the best people to tap for information, because they live it. We don't live it. We tell you how wonderful we are, but we don't live the wonderfulness. The students actually live it. So, but I see one-on-one people all the time, but I would look on the website, because we have some cool stuff coming up for, like Dr. Esther said, for the welcome days that we're planning, and really good giveaways. So it's worth a trip.
I believe the dates, I'm just looking on my calendar, they're March 27th, which is a Sunday, and then there's 2 Saturdays in April, the 9th and the 23rd. So those are the 3 dates that the university has already announced for their welcome days. So definitely take advantage of those. And again, if you're going to be coming up to Rhode Island, let us know, and we can have a student show you around, and it'd be really fun. So I hope this was informative, and I hope you all, oh, is there one? Oh, Caitlin's got it. So there's one more question in there. She's on it. So again, thank you for joining us. Please let us know if you have any questions, and good luck. Hope to see you soon.